I think that a lot of life's mysteries are much simpler than the answers are maybe much simpler than what we suspect. Not that I have any idea about most of any answers, but I think the important thing to remember is that um, answers are meaningless to someone who has no question. It's like 42, unless you know the question, answers are pointless. I think a lot of people mistake chaos for anarchy. And I think a good way to frame the question on to get you an answer of what anarchy is in my mind is, let's say if you've got a reasonably normal functioning family. And obviously when the kids are young, you've got to have rules and structure. But once everyone's grown up, you're not going to have dad telling everyone what to do for their whole lives. It's an open system. And so let's say they're living on an island and everyone knows the rules, but it's anarchy, or it's an anarchical society. If everyone was just going around cutting people's heads off and stealing, and that's chaos. That's not anarchy. Now, when it gets a lot more difficult, and I think this is where the problem starts, is when you get huge numbers of people. All of a sudden, it's not Dad and Dave and, the kids, and everyone sort of knows each other and they respect each other's space. All of a sudden, you've got the king, and he's going to bring order because you don't want the vandals have just come through and sacked your village, and so you need someone big to stand up for you. And so I think that's where, obviously when you get a bigger system, it's much more difficult for the unenlightened to grapple with that. I think it's a reoccurring theme in literature and in movies. The idea that you're already there. That, like in The Wizard of Oz, when she clicks her heels together, you've just got to, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. And maybe in 2001, or no, 2010, when Hal is asking him where Dave is, and he says, I'm already there. You're already there. It's a reoccurring theme. It's interesting, isn't it? And in a way, that's like the two dynamics, the conscious and unconscious, or the lower and upper hemispheres. In a way, people say, oh, well, when are people going to become conscious? When is everyone going to become enlightened enough to be able to... But you're already there, There's no place like home. There's no place like home. I'm not advocating anarchy as a system of government. What I'm saying is that you've got to examine the answers where you haven't looked at the question. I was talking to my son Brent just a second ago, and he was looking at a game and he said, gee Dad, this game looks like it's inspired by Mad Max, the movie, or the Road Warrior, I suppose, in America. And we were laughing about how they're all driving around in V8s in the desert after this little bit of fuel. And I thought, isn't it funny how that is imprinted on society, that idea that, we're going to run out of fuel and there's no other energy source that we could replace gasoline with, and it's kind of imprinted on society. And it makes me laugh because we've had a technology called gasification since the 1890s, and that you can run your car on. I run my 10 kVA generator on wood. And it would only really take a 15-year startup to grow the trees to run the whole world easily. But you could run the whole world on wood. It's an amazingly efficient technology. 1 kilo of wood
equals 500 grams of petrol. And when you think about it, no refining, no drilling, all you got to do is grow the trees. And I see people saying, oh, what are we going to do when we run out of fuel? And it's funny how it's the perception of reality. It's not the reality. And not that it makes any difference, but it's carbon neutral, because you grow the trees, they absorb the carbon, you chop the trees down, you power your vehicles and your society on it, you grow more trees, they suck the carbon back in, it's carbon neutral. But I think the important thing there again is that you've been given an answer, but have we looked at the question? You don't need to understand how your Blu-ray player works exactly, but you understand the reason why it works. So you can stick your DVD, your disc in there, and you can watch a movie. And I think that's true with a lot of things. I think it's just having the question. It's the question that drives us. And you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows.